Hi everyone, it's Donna from Donna's Corn-Free Cooking, and I'm back again to share with you another corn-free recipe that I really enjoy making. Now, one of the biggest issues I had, my husband and I always love to go out and have pizza at least once a month, sometimes a little bit more. But I found I could not eat pizzas out in pizzerias or restaurants because of the fact, one, when they bake the crust, they bake it in cornmeal to help it to keep from sticking in the oven. Two, you don't know what's in their sauce, you don't know what's in the meats. I know that the pepperoni, which is our favorite, it always has dextrose in it. I've not found any yet that doesn't. So what I'm going to share with you today, this video here, I'm going to share with you how to make your own corn-free pizza dough. And I'm starting out here with my large mixing bowl, and to it I'm going to add 1 cup of very warm water. Then I'm going to sprinkle 1 package of yeast over this water, and I like to use Fleshman's rapid yeast. Okay, I'm not going to touch that with a spoon or anything yet. I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of sugar and 1 tablespoon of canola oil. Okay, now what I'm going to do is set my timer, which I've got all ready to start, for 5 minutes. And what you're doing, you're letting that yeast bloom. And when it blooms, it works so much better when it's time for it to rise. Now, this recipe is really simple and easy to do, and I wanted to share it with you because if you're like me, that was one of the guilty pleasures that I just missed having so much. So now, because I make it from scratch, we don't miss what we used to get out in the pizzerias. And so I want you guys to be able to do this. It's quick and easy. When I mix the flour in, I actually start kneading it in the bowl. And you only knead it for about 5 minutes or till it's very smooth and elastic where you can stretch it. And then I leave it in the same bowl, and then I proof it for 45 minutes. And after 45 minutes, it's ready to go. Now you can get, in this particular recipe, you can get 2 large pizzas, or like I like to do, I do 1 large pizza, and then the rest of it I make garlic cheesy bread, which is another favorite of ours. So we're getting 2 items out of 1 bowl of pizza dough. So we've got 3.5 minutes left, and so I'll be back as soon as this timer goes off. So we've got about 15 seconds left on this timer, and when it goes off, I'm going to be adding 2.5 cups of flour. And as you can see, I've got my little 2-cup holder here, and timer just went off. So this is ready to add the flour. So I put in 2.5 cups of flour, and as I've said before, I use the regular flour. If you're afraid of the bleached flour, that it might have corn in it, just use the unbleached. And this is an option, the salt. And I use sea salt, but I'm going to use, let me grab my teaspoon here. The option is you can either add 1/2 teaspoon of salt or not. That's up to you, whichever you want. And I'm trying to see where it's at. Okay, right here. And normally it was that I forgot the salt once, and that was how I ended up making it an option, because by not adding the salt, your dough is a little bit sweeter, and if you make your pizza spicy, it kind of offsets that so that you have a better balance. But for today, I'm going to do the salt, and I just mix it all up as best I can with my spatula here. And then I'm going to get in there with my hands and get it all worked together. It's a good workout on my hands, especially if your joints are a little sore or whatever. Now I'm to the point where I can't really do much else with that. So I'm going to start using my hands, and I just start kneading the flour into it. Sometimes if it's too dry, I add just a touch of water. I'm hoping that's not the case today because the measurements were right, but sometimes you just never know. And when you do this, you're not dirtying up any more bowls than you have to. That's why I do everything in this bowl, and then I let it rise in the very same bowl. Now, my new stove has a feature which I absolutely love, and that is a proofer. So all I have to do is when I'm making yeast dough, I just turn it on, stick it in there, put the timer on, and leave it. That's what we're going to do today. Now this is feeling really stiff, so I am going to add just a touch more water. And you want to make sure it's warm. It's very important so that the yeast will do its thing. Because if the water's cold, it stops it from working, and if it's too hot, it stops it from working. So there's kind of a balance there. I put just a touch in there. It seemed to help. I didn't even put more than a teaspoon, I think, of water in that. Sometimes when I measure it out, it says one thing, but it seems like I come up just a little tiny bit short. So I'm going to keep working this. And I wear gloves just in case I've cut my fingers or anything. And I don't want to get any body fluids or anything into my dough. So, and as you can see, it's really starting to come together. And I'm still just working it, and it's still pretty stiff. And I want it to get to where it's just smooth and elastic, and it will rise perfectly. And for me, you know, I say 5 minutes, but when you've been doing it for as long as I have, it gets to be a sense of feel, how the dough feels to you. And I love this recipe because I use it not only for pizza and cheesy bread, I use it to make dinner rolls or little buns to make sliders, because all the buns you find in the store have corn in them. So if I want to make a meal where I'm doing nothing but sliders, I make this recipe. And it's so simple because once it rises, you just take a greased pan, break off a small amount, make a little ball, stick it on there, let them rise for about 20-30 minutes, and throw them in the oven. And then you've got slider rolls. So it's a good recipe that's versatile for just about anything. I've even used it to make cinnamon rolls. Instead of 1 tablespoon of sugar, I add 2 to make it a little sweeter. And then after it rises, I roll it out. I melt my butter, spread it on there, and sprinkle my cinnamon sugar, roll it up, and cut it with dental floss. And then I've got beautiful cinnamon rolls. And I don't do icing or anything, but you could actually do a caramel sauce from scratch. I I know the Pioneer woman, she has a recipe for that, which I use, which is all corn-free. And so you get a delightful pastry without all the corn products in it. So that's another use for this particular dough. And as you can see, it's starting to move better for me. And so I just keep working and working until it gets to where I want it. And it's very close because, as I said, I can tell by feel. It starts to get more elastic the more you knead it. And then the texture of it is nice and smooth. And it just comes out awesome. And after this video, I will show you what I'm going to do with this dough and show you the ingredients I use to make a nice sausage pizza. And my garlic cheesy bread. That is my favorite part when I do this. Sometimes I think I ought to just make the cheesy bread and forget the pizza. So we're going to keep working a little bit more. And if you have weak arms, boy, this will strengthen it. My mom used to make me help her knead bread when I was a little girl. And I used to hate it. But I have to thank her because it's helped me to remember what I grew up with and how to take charge of my eating and my cooking. And it's a good thing when you have so many food allergies. This is almost ready. I can feel it. And I'm not sure how many minutes we've been at this. 2 or 3, maybe 3, going on 4. But I would say that personally, it's starting to stretch. Yeah. I would say it's just about ready. So while I finish this kneading, I'm going to get off of here, and then I'm going to let this rise, and then I will come back and show you how I make this beautiful pizza. See you soon.